By the way, there's a copy of the workbook that goes with this presentation. If you look in the chat, you can download it. Thanks, Crystal, for doing that. What gratitude and pride? Top three best things, biggest wins for the year. The biggest challenges you've grown through. What did you learn? Incompletes and aspirations, both business and personal. What I'm doing is starting to take you through the journey of how do we make the next 3 years the best years, and then how do we actually execute on that? And then next page in the workbook. Oops. Right. I'm not getting this right today, am I? What do you want your numbers to be different going forward? Number of clients, income, monthly, yearly income. How do you want your marketing to be different? What do you want your impact to be different? How do you want your impact to be different? How do you want your lifestyle to be different? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? Okay. Anything particularly stand out to you from those questions? You perhaps share in the chat.
Jonathan, I'm just going to ask my question if that's okay, because I'm on my little walking thing, so typing's a little bit hard. I think what really stood out for me in the valleys of death that you spoke of is the jump from that first 1 million to 3 million and the people that comes with that. So it was almost like a double the head count. And what I'm experiencing is the investment of the next level of people power to continue the growth is where it seems to be a bit of a friction point for what I can allocate and resource out or invest back into that next level of growth. So that was something that was coming up for me.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. And once again, I was just talking about my client, and they're now at 15 million revenue. We've grown from 3 to 15 over the last 3 years. But we were talking about it just then, and that if we throw in an additional one there, Simone, the concept of profitability and how do you grow versus scale? Sorry, grow versus scale and keep your profitability happening at the same time. And it's almost as though you're going through, it's stepping up. So with my client, what we've been talking about is, to scale, it's all about people. So how do we afford to bring on the right people to do the right things to get us to the next level of growth? And what we're doing is a planning thing today, but one of the key things I work with my clients on is putting together, matching the people strategy to the actual strategy of the business is critically important. What we've done with my client I was just talking to has been to put in place an investment fund, literally a line of credit and also a cash account, which they've grown over time, and they will invest in people. So let's say we now need a new enterprise BDM to actually take us to the next stage of growth. We'll get 4 to 5 months of the costs of that resource, either in a line of credit or in a cash account. And we can plan and say, we need this BDM in 6 months' time. We therefore are going to start hiring in 3 months' time. We're going to have 3 months onboarding, and this investment account will pay for that, which leads us. So it's a very structured, thought through approach to grow the right resources to help you grow through those barriers. Of course, AI is making it a hell of a lot easier these days. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. I think it's just thinking of it in that perspective and making sure that you're allocating those financial resources for that instead of having that feeling like, is there enough money to expand into
Yeah.
that next thing and having that uncertainty around it? Yeah,
Yeah, and
thank
I
you.
think I think you're right. The key thing here is it is all about people. And to grow and to scale your business, you definitely need the right people on board. And at that and particularly that $3 million level, not only are we talking about hiring new, much more experienced people than we've had in the past, we may very well be talking about moving people because they're just not, they don't have the skills now to actually to perform at the level we require. And they're the hard things about being a leader. Anybody else with questions or comment? Okay, moving on. So I think this is the key point at this stage. I don't believe in annual planning. In fact, I think it sucks. The problem with annual plans, they're too short to be strategic, and you can't build something truly transformative in 12 months. But they're also too long to be predictable. The market moves, your team shifts, priorities evolve. So what most businesses do, they fall in this loop. Big goals in January, drift in quarter 2, panic in quarter 4, and then repeat. So in my model, what we do is we plan a 3-year vision, but we then focus on 90-day execution sprints. So it's a rhythm. It's a 3-year vision, 3-year leaders intent, 3 years winning moves. I'm going to show you what these things actually mean in a moment. Quarterly sprints, weekly and monthly check-ins, and it creates consistency, accountability, and growth. The client I was just talking to you about, we have a plan quarter by quarter to move their profitability from 6% where they are now, which is low because they've been investing, to 16% over the next 3 years. And we have a specific plan in place to help the client and the leadership team move from there. This isn't just a planning framework. It's really about a shift in thinking. It's creating a business that scales without the founder. It's building a rhythm that actually gets executed. And it's aligning everybody to the same vision every 90 days. It starts with a 3-year personal and company vision workshop. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the background behind this. Worksheet, I should say. A fellow by the name of Brian Scudamore started a company called 1-800 Got Junk in Canada significant time ago. I think to this day it's still the fastest growing franchise in the world. In fact, there's three franchises. There's also a paint a room franchise and another franchise. Brian, he did it. He started his business when he was in college, and it was about paying to get through college. But it took off. And he got to a stage where he had 12 people. By the way, the issues with growth always comes around the initial first one is about 10 to 12 staff. And Brian had 10 to 12 staff and it was a catastrophe. It was keeping him awake at night. So he went one day down to the water with a pattern pencil, a pattern pen, and wrote down what he wanted his business to look like and what his life wanted to look like. And it became a thing called a 3-year painted picture. Part of that, and essentially blew up the company, started again, and built the company in a way that worked for him. Along the way, he got to that $10 million mark, and life got really hard. And he hired a guy called Cameron Herold. Cameron's a good friend of mine. Cameron became the COO. And because Brian was a phenomenal, and still is a phenomenal CEO, but didn't have the skills to grow this company. So, Simone, this is one of those points about getting to the certain levels and being able to choose to hire the right resource to help you. And Cameron and Brian took the company from $10 million revenue to $100 million revenue over about, I think it was 6 or 7 years. They were best friends. Brian was best man at, sorry, Cameron was best man at Brian's wedding. But it got to about 10 million revenue and they had a really great working relationship. They went out for lunch one day and Brian burst into tears. And Cameron said, "You're going to sack me, aren't you?" And Brian said, "Yes." Because Cameron didn't have the skill set to take the business from the 10 million to from the 100 million to the $1 billion. And they're well and truly on the way for that. Brian then helped Cameron set up a business. It's called the COO Institute, I think it's called. He's written multiple books, one of which was about this company vision, a 3-year vivid vision. And it's a phenomenal tool. So what I've done, R&D, rip off and duplicate, I've taken a lot of Brian and Cameron's work and then I've added my own stuff in here. And we ended up with this 3-year personal and company vision worksheet. So I'm not going to ask you to do this today because normally what I'd ask you to do, and it normally takes at least a day. I normally send you down to the water with a bottle of wine, if that's your penchant, to literally sit there and map out what your business looks like and what your personal life looks like. So I'm going to give you a quick overview. This tool is available in the workbook. So the idea is to develop your 3-year vision for what you and your company will be 3 years out. And you personally as well. A clear vision, alignment in life and business, awareness of the roadblocks that have been stopping you, tools to overcome the roadblocks, a decision filter to keep you on course, strategic action steps to execute your vision, etc.